Hello, everybody, and welcome into another playoff preview show here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and we have a couple of familiar faces for this series preview, Jacob Billington, Peter Baracchini, and Toronto Maple Leafs, Ottawa Senators matchup in Battle of Ontario for the first time. I don't even know when the last time they got met in the playoffs. It's been a long time.
It's been over
21 years.
Yeah, over 20 years. 03-04 was the last time.
So, it's been a while since the Senators have been in the playoffs. So, of course, it's going to be long for this matchup, but long time coming. The bad thing is we're going to lose a Canadian team right away in the first round. There are 5 that have made the playoffs, but only 4 will remain after this first round. But we will enjoy it as we start here. So, thanks, guys, for coming on and previewing this series. And let's just get started and talk about. We'll first talk about the Maple Leafs and their journey to the playoffs. I mean, it's usually a given. Maple Leafs make the playoffs. It's what happens after that. So, Peter, what has been their journey like? I mean, new coach Craig Berube comes at the beginning of the season, changes the style of game. You can speak on if it's for the better, but what has been their journey like up to this point?
I would say a very pleasant surprise, given the fact that with a new head coach coming in, a new system, it's always difficult to try and, get that mindset of how you want to execute from the coach's point of view. And, for the last 8 or so years, we always know about how the Maple Leafs were run and gun style, puck protect or, puck possession type of style. Even under Sheldon Keefe, that was their main, MO every single time. But we know Craig Berube, he's more hardworking. He's more one-on-one. He's more of a defensive style, north-south kind of game. And for the most part, it was a little bit of an adjustment period at the beginning, but the Maple Leafs went on stretches where they were absolutely dominant and executed very, very well up until this point. And even down the stretch, they've been playing very strong, very reliable playoff type of hockey where it's close games. They're playing against top opponents. There were wins where maybe it wasn't the prettiest, but they got a win against the LA Kings, against the Florida Panthers at one point. They played well against desperate teams that were eyeing for a playoff spot, and that's what they got to do if they wanted to win the Atlantic Division. And lo and behold, they managed to do that for the first time in this current format. They've won other division titles, but the Atlantic one, there was the one that has been the most recent iteration. So all in all, I think this is a great stepping stone for them and a great practice run for what playoff hockey entails, because that's what Berube style is all about. And I feel like they executed very well up until this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, playoff style hockey, and this is why they brought him in to win in the playoffs. And we'll see if that changes the narrative. I mean, it won't change until it does change. And we'll see how everything goes in the first round here if they make it out of it. The questions will still remain because they have made it to the second round and even under Keefe once and then stopped. So, I mean, it has to go further than that, but we'll see how that goes in the first round here. Now, Jacob, with the Senators, like you say, haven't made the playoffs in a long time. This season, massive change. 95 points right now. I mean, they have one game remaining. They could actually get to 97. But, I mean, that's really good. They're not actually that far away from the Maple Leafs in points. Again, Toronto's at 106, could finish with 108. That's actually not a big spread. So this is not a typical, 2 versus 7 matchup. So what has been the Senators' journey to finally the playoffs?
I mean, honestly, a lot of what Peter just said about the Maple Leafs is true for the Senators. They bring in a new coach. He instills a really good defensive system. Rather than playing run and gun as they did under DJ Smith, there wasn't much of a system under Smith. But now Travis Green has them playing accountable defensive hockey. He's got them playing just really well on both sides of the puck. The defense group has taken a huge step this season from going like Travis Hamonic was playing big minutes last year. Eric Brandstrom has played big minutes in the past. But now we have a top 4 of Sanderson, Shabbat on the left, and then on the right side we got Zubin Jensen. That's a huge upgrade over anything that Ottawa's had been able to ice over the past 7 years. I mean, there's been times that Eric Goodbranson, Braden Coburn, and they were top 4 guys, and they were not top 4 players in the NHL at that point. Like, the roster that Steve Staios put together has been phenomenal, and the job that Travis Green has done with it has been just as good. So the Senators aren't as offensively strong as they were under DJ Smith, but that's because they're doing more than just shooting the puck and trying to score. They're actually playing the defensive side. They do have that offensive capability. They were more focused on the development of the defensive game, which has brought them to the playoffs. That's the difference between last year and this year.
For sure. And I mean, I'm familiar with Travis Green. He was the Canucks coach for a while here and I guess technically they did have a playoff appearance in the COVID bubble. I did quite well. And I mean, I really liked him as a coach, really. I mean, honestly, I think he did a really good job. And he's showing that he is a still really good coach and brings the Senators to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And kudos to him and the system that he's brought in with a lot of coaches that I'm familiar with from Vancouver too. So that, I don't know, maybe there's something there. All right. Let's talk about some players to watch in this series. Now, Peter, there's, of course, the obvious ones, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, all those guys. Of course, you can talk about them, but who should everyone be watching in this series?
Yeah, rightfully so. I mean, the core 4 or even core 5 now, if you want to include Matthew Knies at this point, who's, been a really good playoff producer for the Maple Leafs the last 2 times. Obviously, they're going to be at the forefront because a lot of the, missed opportunities and poor performances falls on their shoulders because they're the ones getting paid the big bucks. And obviously, they need to have a strong performance this time around. Otherwise, you could look at drastic changes with this core, and the forward unit could be a little bit different. But overall, aside from them, because that's just how it is, they're going to be under a big microscope. And if they don't produce, that's going to be the main focal point. But other players that I'm keeping an eye on, I just mentioned Matthew Knies. He's had a big sophomore season where there was no sophomore slump, pushing 30 goals, pushing 60 points, playing on that top line. I thought he's been fantastic all season to this point, but also, some of the new additions like Chris Tanev. I mean, he's one of the premier shot blockers and defensive defenders the NHL seen over the past few seasons. And that's why the Maple Leafs acquired his rights at the draft. That's why they signed him. Cap hit maybe a little bit too high, and especially now that he's up there in age, but they don't mind that because they know what his job is and he's effective at it. The addition of Brandon Carlo has been fantastic from, the trade deadline. That caught me off guard, but if the Maple Leafs wanted to go on a deep run, they needed someone like Brandon Carlo to fill out that top pairing and be a very strong complementary partner to Morgan Rielly, where he will have a little bit more free reign offensively, and his, defensive game is a little bit more steady, and he could rely on him a little bit more. I think those are going to be the 2 key guys, especially on the back end. Even Jake McCabe, I thought he's been Chris Tanev's partner for most of the season, and they've been a reliable shutdown duo, and they've excelled against top competition. So if the Maple Leafs are going to go far, like I mentioned, and even Jake alluded to the defensive system for the Senators, defense is going to play a big factor for the Leafs, and the fact that they've gotten the personnel, and this is as deep as the defense has been in some time. You look at the roster last year, where Riley's partner was Ilya Lyubushkin. We had Joel Edmondson. We did not have the depth at all last year, and it showed in that series against the Bruins. And this time, the Maple Leafs are better equipped on the blue line to defend against the rush very well. Try to contain Ottawa's heavy forecheck because they are a very heavy physical team. They got players on the back end that can match that physicality. And Tanev, McCabe, and Carlo are going to be the guys that are going to be relied on. They're going to be the ones I'm going to be watching mainly this time around.
Yeah, we talk about the Canucks connections here. They're all over the place. I mean, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, former Canuck, Chris Tanev, Travis Green, coach on the Senators side. I'm probably missing maybe someone else, but it's just
Adam Gaudette.
Crazy. Yeah, Adam Gaudette. Yeah. There's another one. There might be an article there from my side here.
Former Marley, Adam Gaudette too.
Yeah, Gaudette's
legend.
Yeah, lots. Oh, he did play for the Maple Leafs as well, right? Those guys are going to be, I think, key in those series because, Tanev is a playoff type guy that you need. He just plays that type of style that you need in the playoffs. right, Jacob, for the Senators side, Brady Tkachuk, I think, is going to be massive in this series because he is a playoff-style player, and we have not seen him in the playoffs yet. So it's going to be exciting to watch him. Who else should everyone be watching from the Senators?
Yeah, I don't need to say much about Brady Tkachuk. We all know like he goes 110% every night. He doesn't take a game off. But I think a really big, a few players to watch is going to be the trade deadline acquisitions in Dylan Cousins and Fabian Zetterlund. They both kind of fit the mold that we see from Claude Giroux, that we see from David Perron, and that's going to be hard forechecking. I know that the Leafs have some really good players for like board battles and stuff. Like honestly, most of the core four, all of the core four and nines are all good in the board battles. But what Ottawa does is every 50-50 puck, they send another guy in. So they're always going to be 2-on-1 in the boards. And then they send it up to the blue line and they get a shot on net and hope for the best. That's how Ottawa generates their chances. It's worked really well for them. So players like Perron, Giroux, Cousins, and Zetterlund, like they're big players. They're physical players. They get in the corners. If they outmuscle Mitch Marner and they 2-on-1 get the puck, then there's going to be a chance coming right away. So it's those forwards, but also even on the defense, it's going to be Thomas Chabot, I think, to keep an eye on. Jake Sanderson's taken over. That has made Chabot better, ironically. So how's he going to look in the playoffs? He was drafted 10 years ago. That's insane. Thomas Chabot was drafted 10 years ago. But he's finally I don't remember if he played in 2017 playoffs. I don't think so. But here he is in the playoffs, so he's going to be important to watch as well.
Yeah, it's crazy how I keep thinking he's still a really young guy, but 10 years ago he was drafted. He's still quite, I mean, he's not old yet, but yeah, it's crazy to think back that it's been that long. All right, Peter, the season series was heavily in favor of the Senators. They're 3-0 and limited the Maple Leafs offense quite a bit. They only scored 3 goals in the season series. So what are the keys to victory to actually win against the Senators for the first time this season?
Yeah, going 0-3 against one of your divisional rivals and big rivals because of where they're located, not ideal in the sense. And I believe they were outscored 9-3 in favor of the Senators. Maple Leafs 3 goals only coming at even strength, not even on the power play. So yeah, obviously a bit of a concern, but again, that's the regular season. This is now the postseason. You wipe the slate clean. It's a fresh start for everybody. And I could guarantee that the Maple Leafs were never happy with their performance against the Sens, where they did have their opportunities, but a lot of, missed opportunities, missed chances, going for the cute play kind of thing. They got it. You can't do that against a team like the Sens that wear you down. They're on top of you. They pressure you very well. They're very physical. So right from the get-go, I think they got to match the physicality because Brady Tkachuk is going to be breathing down your shoulder nonstop. They got players that are very physical, but the Maple Leafs have other players that can match that physicality. And I'm probably going to repeat this over the last 2-3 other, keys to victory or postseason matchups for the Maple Leafs is the stars got to show up. I mean, simple as that, as I mentioned before. If they get going, if Matthews is on his game, if Mitch Marner is going to be as effective as that two-way, winger, making key plays, coming and showing up in key moments like he has at certain points this season, like the Four Nations down the stretch as well. He needs to have a big game and a big series as well because it's a contract year. You expect him to take a big step forward and actually show up and make an impact as with everybody else. I really feel like this is going to come down to, details and attention to the game, puck management and all that. If the Maple Leafs have shown that they can be a very well manageable team with their decision making, and if they make the smart plays, they're going to come out on top because I feel like there are times where they take a second or two, but they open things up and they pounce on those opportunities. So I think that's going to be a big key for them. And the power play. It wouldn't be a Maple Leafs postseason if I did not mention the power play because 4.8% last year, 1 goal on 24 or 25 opportunities is not going to get you a series win. They did not get a power play goal against the Sens. That has to change. And I think that with the firepower that they have, especially down the stretch too, they didn't score goals as much as I hope that they would like, but they did get those chances and they did look dangerous. The movement was a little bit better. They were unpredictable. They're utilizing Matthew Zator a little bit more in front of that net as that net front presence. John Tavares in the bumper spot. William Nylander, he's been a little bit more of a consistent shooter on his off wing as well. And Mitch Marner as that defender / point man on the power play, that could be a big, momentum turner for the Maple Leafs power play, but it could also be a problem where you don't have a defender. But Mitch Marner with his ability on the penalty kill, I think they're comfortable with that. So if they look dangerous on the power play, they need to start converting. They got the chances, they've got all that, but if they need to convert, converting on the power play is the biggest thing right now, especially in the postseason where special teams could be the difference maker in a series.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a thing, special teams and goaltending is always a big one too. Jacob, the Senators have that going for them this time, and goaltending has not always been a strong suit of the team, and that's why they brought in Linus Ullmark. He was really good against the Maple Leafs, 2-0, .960 save percentage, only allowed one goal in his 2 starts and had a shutout. So that's a positive going in, having a hot goalie against a team that, confident. What are the keys to victory for the Senators to get out of this first round?
I think the biggest thing is to not get starstruck. Brady Tkachuk has been waiting so long. Thomas Chabot has been waiting so long. Tim Stützle's been waiting a while. This is the first time through in the rebuild, 7 years since playoffs. Don't let the bright lights distract you. It's going to be a big atmosphere. It's going to be loud. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be playoff hockey for the Battle of Ontario. And I just hope it doesn't distract all these guys. Obviously, you look at the lineup, and Nick Jensen has plenty of playoff experience. David Perron, Claude Giroux. But after that, there's not a whole bunch. David Perron, remember, I might have just said that. But there's not a whole bunch of playoff experience. It's a young lineup. So as long as they can just keep their focus and not get overwhelmed, I expect the first 10 minutes of the first game is going to be just a gong show like it always is in the first 10 minutes of a series. But I think Ottawa's likely going to go down 2-0 and then finally get their groove and then keep with the Leafs for the rest of the series. So as long as they can just keep focus on the task at hand and each game one at a time, I think they're going to be okay. You mentioned goaltending and how Linus Ullmark was really good against the Leafs until you look back at last season's playoffs. Then he was very not good against the Leafs. He played 2 games. He started one and an 886. Ullmark's playoff stats are not good at all. No. He's got a 887 save percentage across 10 games. Not good. Very small sample size. And in those 10 games, he's also had Jeremy Swayman playing with them. They've always had tough opponents. I'm not worried about it, but worth noting.
For sure. And one thing to note too is Ullmark, of course, last season, and then Joseph Wall was in that for the Maple Leafs. And Ullmark, I don't know if they faced each other in series at that one point, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Basically the same goalies going against each other, but of course Ullmark on a different team. Okay, let's talk about some weaknesses, or just one big one, and this is the start of our quick fire round. So, Peter, what's one big weakness that the Maple Leafs have that you think could derail them? And it's probably an obvious one. The Maple Leafs fans are probably yelling at the screen right now, but
it really is. The biggest weakness for the Maple Leafs are themselves. Until they get rid of all that pain, the scar tissue, the past failures, the missed moments of winning a series and going in as a favorite, there has to be a sense of urgency with this team, and they have shown that throughout this regular season. But now is a perfect opportunity to showcase that and show that this is the different team that we've seen throughout the regular season, and they're not going to be the same Maple Leafs team that we've seen in the playoffs previously before. And, they were the favorites against the Columbus Blue Jackets in that play-in round. They lost to the Blue Jackets. Favorites against the Canadiens. Blew a 3-1 series lead in that COVID bubble. those were prime opportunities where the Maple Leafs were the favorite, and they missed out on that with the star-studded talent that they have. And that, to me, is their biggest weakness, because if you want to be the best, you got to turn things around and you got to play like you actually mean it. I mean, again, this is the Stanley Cup playoffs. You got 15 other teams eyeing for the cup, and if you have a poor performance, you're just going to be basically in another hole like you were last year. They got to come out flying. They got to be prepared, because you can't take your opponent like the Ottawa Senators lightly. I mean, there are a lot of underdog teams this playoffs, and the Senators are one of them, and they're looking to pounce on the Maple Leafs as a result of that and take advantage of that, because we know how fragile this team can be with their mental state and the past history that they have. It has been rough. So I think that, to me, is their biggest weakness.
Yeah, I mean, different coach, of course, that could maybe change that. But the same big players are still there, and that can creep in. So we'll see if they can finally quell that this time around. All right, Jacob, what about the Senators? What's the biggest weakness that could derail them in this one?
I think it's just the offense, and that's a very general thing to say. Like, overall, I'm not too concerned about the Maple Leafs defending. Like, they have good defensemen, but I think it's a beatable defensive group. It's not like the prime Dallas Stars that you just can't get anything past. They're good. They're not unbeatable. But I think Ottawa's going to kind of beat themselves. I talked about their effective offensive strategy. It does work when it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't. 5-on-5 scoring has been difficult for them to come across. Hence the additions of Dylan Cousins and Fabian Zetterlund. Zetterlund has struggled to produce so far. He's played fantastic, but hasn't gotten the points, hasn't gotten the goals. So yeah, it's been better as of late, like post-trade deadline. It's definitely improved, but yeah, I'd like to see some more point scoring out of some of the players. Like, you look at the Senators stats, and I just want to make sure I have the right numbers here. Yeah, so Tim Stützle, 76 points on the season. Again, there's still one game left, so I don't expect him to get 6 points tonight, but you never know. Drake Batherson, second on the team with 65. Jake Sanderson and Brady Tkachuk are third with 55. The offense wasn't there. Like, Sanderson's point production, Batherson's point production, perfect. That's almost more than you would want to expect. Brady Tkachuk, a bit of a down season. That's okay. Claude Giroux at 50. That's what you expect. Shane Pinto on pace for 40. That's what you expect. They just don't have that true secondary top producer behind Tim Stützle. They just need that first line right winger that can really produce, and they don't have it right now. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if their offense can keep up with the Maple Leafs.
For sure. I mean, the Maple Leafs do have a 100-point guy in Mitch Marner this year. So, and he's been great. I think the offense, when you look at the stats, there's a big discrepancy. But, I mean, the Senators have a lot of underrated guys that could potentially come through in here. So I won't give away because we got a few other things to go here. Okay, X factors. Now, these are fun because it doesn't have to be a player. It can be a situation. So, Peter, what could be an X factor for the Maple Leafs in this one?
I've actually written about him, and that's Matthew Knies. I think he's the prototypical power forward that's ready for the playoffs. And I've mentioned, he's had big playoff moments, scoring an overtime winning goal against the Boston Bruins last year, assisting on John Tavares' series clinching goal against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So this is a guy that's already excelled in the postseason. The way that he could wear opponents down low with the, being aggressive on the forecheck, being strong in one-on-one battles, having that net front presence, that's playoff hockey right there. And he's got that mindset already. The other one I'm going to look to is basically trying to outplay Linus Ullmark with Anthony Stolarz. As Jacob mentioned, Maple Leafs have kind of had his number in the postseason, not so much in the regular season, but I will say this: Ullmark does have a bigger sample size compared to Anthony Stolarz. Stolarz has only played one game, and even then last year he came in relief. He has a cup ring to his name, but that's because Bobrovsky was a starter. Stolarz looks fantastic down the stretch, and I wonder if he can outmatch or just outplay Ullmark, despite not having a whole lot of starter experience, because this is the first year where he played the most games in his entire career. Looked great down the stretch where he had, I believe, 3 shutouts, where I think went 8-1-1 in his last 10 games. That's what you want to see from your starter or your starter heading into the postseason. And there's going to be that goaltending duel matchup. So I want to know if Ullmark can be that Stolarz could be that X factor and just find that extra level ahead of Ullmark, but it's definitely going to come down to goaltending between the two. So I'm looking at the goaltending battle on both sides, but mainly Stolarz can make that one key save.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. I mean, yes, Ullmark's stats aren't the best, but he does have a much bigger sample size to draw from. He knows what the atmosphere is like for sure. Jacob, what about you? What's X factor for the Senators?
I'm glad that you went with 2 because I also have 2. I have 1.5. It's Brady Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk light. Brady Tkachuk needs to play his game. He needs to be a pain in the ass for the Leafs. That's what he's good at. But Brady Tkachuk light, Ridley Gregg, he needs to take advantage of the empty net when it arises. Getting ahead of the Maple Leafs. Like, that's what he does. He's a pest. He's a Brady Tkachuk. He's a Brad Marchand. He's like that kind of style. And we all know that the Maple Leafs don't play well against that kind of player. So yeah, as long as those two can be themselves and get under the skin and maybe take a cross check to the face from Morgan Riley again, then I think the world will be in order and the Ottawa Senators can really make some noise in this series.
Yeah, that one game where that empty netter, that's going to be something.
That's fresh in both teams' minds, and that's what's leading up to this. Like, that's just fantastic storyline material right there.
Yeah. We were talking in the Battle of Florida. They're talking about what the penalty minutes and it's like, oh, this one's going to probably have the most penalty minutes. It's like, no, this one could rival it. So we'll see. We'll see if that ends up being the case. All right, let's go to our series MVP. Now, it doesn't have to be from the team you cover, but who do you think will be the best player in this series? I'll start with you, Peter.
Ooh, I'm going to go with the safe bet, and I'm going to go with Anthony Stolarz. I think he is going to be the one. I like I mentioned, he was hot down the stretch. I think that's the stats and the numbers and the record show that he is going to be the number one starter, and he's going to be the one that's going to be relied on in the postseason. Now, again, what's against him is the fact that he has only one game, again, albeit coming in relief. He doesn't have a whole lot of playoff experience, but we said that about the regular season. Doesn't have a whole lot of regular season experience. Looks fantastic down the stretch. So the fact that he went into the postseason very hot, I think he's going to be a very important factor for the Maple Leafs. And the fact that they haven't had strong goaltending in the past, where they tried to get results from Jack Campbell, didn't work. Ilya Samsonov didn't work. They got results from Joseph Woll when he took over for Samsonov, but he got injured. Now that you have a really strong tandem in goal, that if maybe Stolarz isn't at his best, you do have Joseph Woll to come in. So I think they could play off that tandem and have Joseph Woll come in if he is on top of things, because we know how well he could play in the postseason as well. So I'm going to give a little 1A, 1B basically to Stolarz, mainly shutting things down, keeping the puck out, and being a very strong stalwart in net, and Joseph Woll if and when he does come in, because we know the experience that he has and how he's risen to the occasion before. So to me, it's going to be the goaltenders.
Yeah, and if one of them is really good, this series is going, I think it's going to go to the best goalie, but we'll see. Jacob, what about you for a series MVP?
It's got to be Brady Tkachuk. That's the easy answer. I will go with a not obvious answer, and I'll say Jake Sanderson. He's been like, I don't think there's a world that he does not finish top 5 in Norris voting this year. He's been unbelievable this season. Hopefully the world has taken notice. Actually, hopefully not. Let's just keep him underrated. But him and Artem Zub have been one of the best defensive pairs in the league. I think on Money Puck, if you look up, I think it's expected goals against per 60. Sanderson Zub is the top pair, number one in the league at like 1.8 expected goals against. So it's going to be Sanderson. He has that elite shutdown ability. So does Artem Zub, but he can also put up 55 points in a season. So, and that includes a really terrible slump because he was stuck with Travis Hamonic.
I would say another Canuck connection right there.
Another Canuck connection. Hopefully we don't see him in the playoffs, though.
No, that's right. I think, Tkachuk, of course, we all know he's going to be really good, I think, in this series. But, Sanderson has been amazing for the Senators, probably since he became a Senator in his first game, which didn't take long for him to acclimate to the league. And he looks like a number one defenseman already. So, I think he's going to be big in this series as well. All right, let's do some bold predictions. Peter, a bold prediction for this series.
It hasn't been the case for him as of late, or as far as I can remember. But at the same time, I think Mitch Marner's going to lead the team in scoring. I think he's going to get the most points. The fact that he hit 100 for the first time in his career, the fact that he had big moments in the Four Nations, he was the difference maker in some key games that got the Maple Leafs a couple of points, a couple game winners as well. I feel like he's going to be the guy that the plays are going to be running through the most of the whole entire time. And I think he's going to be a little bit more productive. I think he's got a little bit chip on his shoulder. The fact that it's a contract year, the fact that he's played well up to this point, I think he's going to be the Maple Leafs' best forward in terms of production-wise this time around, where maybe he's been a little bit quiet in the past. I think he's going to stand or, elevate his game to another level this time around.
You'd hope so, at least.
I hope,
That's one thing. I think we've said that every series too.
Hope is a word that we're all too familiar with.
But he definitely has the ability and the potential to do it. So we'll see. Jacob, what about you for a bold prediction?
I think this is going to be Tyler Cleven's coming out party. I think that he is going to dominate in the playoffs as much as a third pair defenseman can. Like throughout the regular season, he's a middle of the pack third pair defenseman. He's nothing special. He's not elite at shutdown. He doesn't move the puck super well, but he's just fine at everything. Except his physicality is where he thrives. And I think against the Leafs, with all of the bright lights that I mentioned, if he can get past the fact that, holy crap, look at this atmosphere, then I think that he's just going to dominate in that third pair role. He's going to be physical. He's going to be making those huge hits. That's what he does. I'm excited to see it. And him and Matt and Paolo, honestly, that's a really good third pair. They don't do anything special. Nothing happens while they're on the ice. They have their occasional, really bad game. But overall, I think they're really good. And I think Cleven's going to take another step in the playoffs.
So what you want from a bottom pairing, not to notice them. So I think, and I mean, these are where the underrated guys, the no names, come to play. And in the playoffs, I don't know how many times we're talking about guys that we don't usually talk about, and they become
Yoel Kiviranta.
Yeah. There's a perfect
that
example.
unsung hero.
Devontae Smith-Pelly.
Yep.
Yeah. It's always, I mean, this is where these guys come out of the woodwork, and then we're talking about them the next season. So we'll see who that is in this series. Speaking of this series and what's going to happen, Peter, what are you going with? Who's going to win this series? How many games?
I just want everyone to have fun. That's my prediction. It ain't going to happen. It's the Battle of Ontario. Let's be realistic. I mean, every other year, I would not feel confident. Like last season, I picked the Boston Bruins. I was not confident in that Maple Leafs team. It is a different story right now. Again, we've been saying that the last 8-9 years, but this is a better, structured team. They are better defensively. They do have better goaltending. They have a better defense unit. Their bottom six, which is starting to pick up a little bit better lately, they're forming great chemistry. I think that's going to play a key part. And I think it's all that combined could spell a Maple Leaf series win. Now, again, they got to get over their own demons. They got to get us. They got to find a right balance of playing well, sticking to their game, not losing sight of what's at stake right now, and that is basically trying to win the Stanley Cup. I mean, I think that the Maple Leafs do take this one. I feel like they can take advantage of a Senators team that doesn't quite have the experience, kind of like the Maple Leafs, where in 2016-17, where they were just up and coming. they were pushing the Washington Capitals as hard as they can to pressure them and try to win the series. It didn't quite work out. I'm expecting a great push from the Ottawa Senators, but I'm going to pick the Maple Leafs in 6. I think this is a different team. They're well balanced, and I think they can counteract the physical play of the Ottawa Senators and match that intensity. I'm going to go with the Leafs in 6.
All right, Jacob, what do you got for this one?
If the Senators are going to win this series, it's going to be in 7 games because Toronto in Game 7 doesn't work. I think Game 6 is going to be the deciding game. That might as well be the Game 7. Either the Leafs will close out the series 4-2, or the Senators will push Game 7. I think that's everybody knows that's how it's going to go.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I don't know if you know the trend going on all around TikTok and everything with the Lakers in 5. I was trying to think of something like that, but I couldn't. I'm not quick enough for that. And I can't say the Sens in 5 because that's not going to happen. I'm going to go Sens in 7. I think that.
All right.
I think that they're going to push it. I think Brady Tkachuk he might end up finishing the series with only 3 limbs instead of 4. Might not have all of his ribs left. I don't know, but I don't think he's going to let them lose to the Leafs.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go with this is going to be a fun one. I'm not really sure where it's going to go, but it is going 7 games. I have now predicted, this is my 3rd series prediction, and I'm going 7 games again. And I'm going with the Senators in 7 as well. I think this team, I mean, over the last, I'd say, second half of the season, they've looked like a playoff team and the one that can beat a lot of teams. And the Maple Leafs have shown that of course, they lose in the first round. And if it does go to 7, I think it is the Senators taking it. And I do think it's going to 7. So Senators go with that one. That's going to be a fun series. So let's go. I mean, that's all we have to say. Thanks, Jacob. Thanks, Peter, for coming on, previewing this series. We'll see who's back in the second round, who's left standing. But make sure checking out everything at thehockeywriters.com. All of the coverage that's going to be in this series. It's going to be a ton of it because I know Jacob and Peter are going to be covering it extensively with all the other writers that are from the Senators and Maple Leafs. But make sure to check everything at thehockeywriters.com. Anything else that we've got going on in the Substack and on Facebook and Twitter /X. But until our next preview, we will see you next time.